welcome back to the next session of the WAM TV. And I have with me here Mark from Elite Audio, who's one of the professional companies here. Mark, I wondered if you could, for the benefit of the cameras and the guys, just introduce yourself, who you are, and just give us a little chat about maybe your business and how you got involved in this in the first place.
Yeah, well, thanks, George. First of all, I'd like to say how privileged we are to be the show sponsor, and also thank everybody that's been in our room so far. The feedback we've had has been overwhelming, actually, in a good way. And it's good to know that the distance that we travel to get here and the thought we put into the system, that it's good to get that kind of feedback. So, in terms of how I personally got involved in audio on the retail and distribution side, it's, I suppose, like a lot of people, it's come from a passion for music. I've got a musical background, so I like playing music, but I love listening to music. So really, the drive, if you like, was the desire to be able to help other people enjoy their music as well. So that's really nothing more complicated, just a real passion for music in the first place.
Okay, Mark, you've got quite an eclectic mixture of products that you represent. How do you go about choosing them?
It's a lot more involved than I think most people would realise. It's not something that we do by chance. There's a lot of thought goes into it. I guess we're always on the lookout for products that are innovative, things that offer something that perhaps isn't necessarily available at a particular price point, for example. And the process, actually, interestingly, it's a good question you've raised, because everything that we supply goes through a lengthy evaluation process with us. We don't take anything on, or it doesn't arrive in our portfolio until that process has gone to its conclusion. So, for example, although I can't name this particular brand, we had a DAC over which we were evaluating for our portfolio. On paper, it looks really good. The spec's good. It's quite a nice looking piece of equipment, but it fell down in a few key areas. As I say, I can't see what it is, but we'd agreed with the manufacturer that if it didn't reach the standard that we were expecting, then it would go back. And I guess, like a lot of people buy equipment, it's not for them, and it ends up going back to the retailer. We were in a kind of a similar position, but and it's important, because ultimately, if we supply a product, what we are actually doing is supplying our advice. So if we supply a product that doesn't meet a standard, then it reflects on us. So it's a very lengthy process. Nothing happens by chance, and we test it under different conditions. Speakers, for example, we would test in different room types, different cables, different source components, different amplifiers, and once we're happy with it, then it would make its way into our portfolio.
Okay, Mark, you're based up in Scotland, and there are a lot of people obviously down in England, south of England, who might say, well, firstly, how do I know what's going to be the right product? And if I do go for the product, how am I going to try it at home? Because that's where I'm going to hear whether it works or not.
Sure. Again, it's another good question. I think one thing that we do when somebody contacts us, either to upgrade whatever it is that they're looking to upgrade or improve, we do spend quite a lot of time understanding their system. So we want to know how that system has evolved. In other words, how have you arrived at this point? We want to understand the thought process behind the components that they have, and also really get a clear idea of what it is that they're looking to improve. So what do they like about the system? What do they want to, what things do they think could be better? In other words, obviously the whole point of them looking to change something or upgrade something. And equally, things like the room size and so on, we want to know everything. So I would say it's a forensic analysis of their system at the start. So that gives us a good start point. And then based on that, and obviously around the budget, which is obviously very relevant, we will make some recommendations based on that. And then the next stage, which is the part you were asking really, is to get them to hear that component. So The best place is always in their own system, so it's unhurried, it's unrushed, there's no pressure. And so with most of our new products, we offer a 30-day no-risk home trial option. And it's good for a number of reasons. One, it allows them to take their time over it, make sure it's the right component. We certainly never want anybody to have something they're not happy with. And if they're not happy, we'll take it back. And it's that simple. It's not a complex process. If somebody wants to return something, that process is really easy. Obviously, we want them to be happy. And to be honest, I think there's nothing more satisfying from our perspective where we make a recommendation to a client and the email comes in and says, you were right. You know, this is doing exactly what you said it would do. It's given me the bit that I was missing, if you like. And that's really rewarding, that part. And I guess as well, it also shows that we understand what we do, because it's a complex business. It's nothing, if you think about even just wandering through all, you know, the wonderful displays of equipment that people have brought here to show, it's such an eclectic mix of components. So it's always very complex. There's a relationship that takes place between each and every single piece of that system that ultimately is what you hear. And everything plays a part. Some more than others, but then it's understanding that interaction. I think, again, we do take a lot of time over that, and we have got a lot of experience in that area. So,
okay, and let me just push you a little bit. You know, a 30-day return, no strings. You really do mean it, because I've seen that, and you get arguments, and you really don't want that.
Do you know what? To be honest, if we're not happy giving a 30-day money-back guarantee, why give it? Because the whole point is to make the buyer be sure they've made the right decision. And yet, you know, some people maybe take advantage of that, but then that's our choice. You know, we've chosen to give that as an option, and we're comfortable with that process. And regardless of whether the piece of equipment costs £100 or £10,000, that stands without, there's no quibble. I mean, zero. And in fact, we don't even, in most cases, charge for the return postage. We will arrange to collect it from the client, and it comes straight back. As soon as we got it back, that's it, refund's done, and we just move on. We don't dwell on it, and maybe there's an opportunity to learn from that, so we would then get into kind of a feedback process to understand maybe why it didn't work for them, what it didn't do in relation to what their expectations. And sometimes it's even a financial thing. You know, people can buy something and something changes in that period, and they suddenly realise that this is less important than perhaps getting 4 tyres for their car. Or, you know, and that happens. You know, but you know, we understand that it's life, and it's the way we do our business. And you know, it makes, I think, buying something that you've not heard before a no risk option, and that's the way it always should be.
Yeah. Computer audio is making a bigger use in systems now, and people do get into problems with it.
That would be an understatement.
Do you support that?
Yeah, of course we do. I mean, sometimes I think we're IT specialists rather than audio suppliers. I think some of these are quite complex, but equally we work very closely with manufacturers in relation to the ease of use. Most of these companies have their own app, or things like, you know, the Roon Ready, so you can use Roon software, and it makes it very easy to integrate that into your own system. Again, everybody's got varying degrees of IT knowledge. Some have none whatsoever, and others are more IT literate than IT specialists. And so everybody's different, and we understand that. But you know, we will handhold someone. We've even done things like shoot videos specifically for them, specific to their product, to show them how to do something, and we'll email it over, and they know it's been personalised for them. So we're talking exactly about the thing they've asked about. So it's not just some generic video. So, or we will take a photograph and put arrows on things and say, you know, plug in here, press this button here. So we take our time over it, and again, that's also part of making sure that someone's happy with something.
Okay, and what about if the product fails? Because it will happen occasionally.
I think it's fair to say there is no, and certainly in my experience, any electronics manufacturer that is immune from product failure. by the nature of and the complexity of these devices, something may go wrong. And it does, you know, there's no two ways about it. I think it's how you deal with that situation, because first of all, you've got someone, and I know most of our clients are like this, music is something they're very passionate about. So it's important then that we can fix the issue for them as fast as we can, and we make it a priority. I mean, for example, and my wife's always getting on me for doing this, but I'm always checking emails over the weekend, and you know, somebody might email on a Saturday night with maybe the fact a customer who dropped an amp and it had been damaged, and he emailed on this Saturday evening and said, you know, can you get it picked up? I replied to him on the Saturday night, said, yeah, we'll book it first thing Monday morning if that's convenient. Booked DPD, picked it up, back to the manufacturer, got it repaired, back to the customer. And I think that's really, I think it's easy to sell something, but the important part is what happens after, in my opinion. That is where we're tested, if you like, and it's good to be tested that way, because that shows how interested you are in making sure that your customers are happy, and that is always our number one priority above everything else.
So I assume in that then that when you are selecting a product, you're looking for a reliable one, something that's never mentioned in any review. How reliable is the sound or whatever?
Again, it's a good point, and it isn't ever mentioned. I'm glad to say that the brands that we deal with are generally extremely reliable. Some have actually had zero product failure, to my knowledge, and so that gives us confidence. Equally, what's also important for us, as for a client, it's important that we give them good service. For us as a supplier, that the manufacturers that we deal with give us a good service. So there is definitely, there's a symbiotic relationship takes place there. They need us because obviously we're the ones that are representing their product, we're putting it out to the market, and we're supporting it either with technical support or giving the right advice to the customer. But for us, we need to know that if there is a problem, that we can very easily and readily access the support if we require it from the manufacturer. We do have our own in-house electronics engineer, so that helps. So a lot of things, if there is a problem, we can deal with it quicker. But sometimes, you know, it's simpler to send it back to the manufacturer. If a product failed like that, you know, quickly, we would replace it. We wouldn't go through a whole repair process with the customer. We wouldn't want them to have to put up with that level of inconvenience. And equally, it's not uncommon for us if somebody has a problem with something, which doesn't happen very often. I know we're kind of labouring the point here, but we will supply them something they can use until their pride and joy comes back all working and back to the way it should be.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to just add?
Not really. I think we've covered a lot there. I think the only other thing that I would say is that, you know, we are very passionate about what we do, and I think that comes through. You know, we deal with we've got some fantastic customers out there who we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for them. We always really appreciate the loyalty that they give us, the continued business, and it's great fun. You know, it really. Sometimes it doesn't feel like work what we do, because I think we're in an enviable position that we get to listen to great music every day, great components. The evaluation process that I was telling you about is actually really enjoyable, and I get a real buzz from it, because when we hear something, suddenly I think, whoa, that's really special. Like the Bonichi speakers that we've got here today. First time I heard those, I was utterly astonished by them. I mean, absolutely just never heard anything like them before. And that kind of eureka moment, if you like, is just great. And then, of course, we can then recommend those to someone, and then they get the same eureka moment that we get. So it's great. It's a brilliant business. And again, just thanks to everybody that's been in our room today. It's been a real pleasure meeting lots of people that I've only sometimes spoken to on the telephone, haven't met them face to face. So that's always great. And one other thing I was going to say, if anybody's not entered our free prize draw, you should get down to the Coleman room. You can win a brand new pair of Triangle active loudspeakers. All you got to do is fill out a little form, stick it in the box. You never know. It could be in for you, George.
Well, I could certainly use them in the second system. Mark, I think on that note, can I say thanks very much, It's been good talking to you.
You too,
And
George.
It's nice to meet somebody who's enthusiastic.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks, George.